Hello everybody, Drywall Repairman here. We're making a lot of videos now because we got over 1,000 subscribers. Now I'm trying to get some watch time. I know some of these videos seem repetitive, but it's just drywall repair. This is what we do. So I try to showcase different videos like these, behind water heaters, behind fridges, different types of patches and different parts of the house, because maybe you're trying to do that project. If this project doesn't pertain to you, then move on to the next one. But basically on this, it's behind a fridge area. The water line to the ice maker leaked. It's a very common issue. Sometimes the angle stops rust through, or the hose leaks, something happens. So they fixed the hose on this one. Sometimes if you hire a plumber, the plumber might even come out, open up a wall, and switch out this whole box. But this one was just a leaky hose, so the homeowner replaced the hose themselves. But now they were concerned about the drywall. So we're just going to cut out a small patch under here. I asked them if they want to cut out the whole wall. They just want to address the area underneath. So we're just going to remove the damaged area because that's all the customer wants to do here. So my first thing with this, it's a spray knockdown texture. So I like to put a little bit of extra masking. That's why I'm using the masking machine to mask off any overspray from my textures. Put down plastic, tarps, whatever you have. And then go ahead and pencil off the area. Just like all my other videos, patchwork, so I always pencil off the areas level. I don't want to cut out more than I need to, so let's cut out the damaged area that's obvious. And then I just use a level. I'm using a little 1x2 piece of wood, basically to get my level mark area. Pencil it off so I get a nice square patch, and then I'm just going to cut it out. These areas I marked here, the damage goes past my mark area, so I'm just going to take out this small area. And then I'm going to take out a little more. I'm going to take out all the obvious damaged damp drywall and replace it with some new sheetrock. This is a basic demo job, any patch. This is what you would do. I'm just going to take out another inch or so, a couple inches on here to the left. Take it up a little more over here. Just get all this wet stuff out. If you had a project at your home and you noticed a wet area in your ceiling or wall, your best thing to do is always open it up right away to let it dry out. Don't just let it sit there days and days and weeks later, then call someone to fix it. The best thing to ever do is just remove that damaged wet area to let the wall dry out. If you leave wet stuff in walls and stuff like that, then you can get mold issues down the road. So it's better to get the area cleaned up right away, opened up, let it dry out. We're just cutting out the drywall here around the box. Get it all cut out. So it's going to be a small patch under a 2x2 patch. Get it all cleaned up. On the sides here, I'm going to have to add backing because I'm not taking it all the way to the next stud. There's a stud in the middle, but I need to add backing to the right side. And then I'm going to add a couple backing pieces to the left side. That way I can tighten the existing wall and the new sheetrock up. Gives it a nice tight finish. You always want to add backing whenever possible. That's why I have these 1x2s. You could use 2x2s, 2x4s, wood sheeting, whatever you want to use. Some people like to use the clips. Everything works fine. These 1x2s are cheap and easy. They're easy to work with. I don't like using 2x4s all the time because sometimes I'll get into a job and I don't have a 2-inch or 4-inch depth in the wall. So these 1x2s seem to work for any type project. I get onto the job, I can do my job and not have any hiccups. That's why I carry these 1x2s. They work good. Some people like to use 2x2s because the 1x2s split, but it is what it is. I'm just using what the job calls for and try to keep these jobs efficient and low cost to save the customer money. With this one, I have a piece of green board. You can use other type of sheetrock, but if you have green board, go ahead and use green board. Green board is supposedly mold proof, so we just use the good stuff whenever possible. If I have it on hand, I'm definitely going to use a green board around any plumbing areas. Basically, stencil, you can level it out, you can tape measure, whatever you want to do, just cut it out. I've done so many patches, I can kind of freehand these patches. Even if I do make a mistake with a gap or anything in my sheetrock, I know I can fill it in with mud and tape, so I'm not too worried about exact precision cuts. We're pretty good with the patching process. Sometimes doing it freehand, you get stuff done quicker. You got to remember that I am a drywaller, work in the field, so sometimes I got to do these jobs quick because the customer only wants to pay me so much, so I got to work as efficient as possible. If you're a do-it-yourselfer working on your own home, you got more time than me, so you can definitely take your time with these projects if you're doing them for yourself. With me, I just get them done. I know what I'm doing, so I'm in and out. I got to get in these jobs and out before the homeowner realizes I'm finished. Get the piece of sheetrock cut. If it's a tight fit, you're going to have to cut it back just a little bit, not even 1/8 of an inch on each side just to get it to fit. You can rasp the sides of your patch with a rasper, razor blade, whatever it takes. Sometimes you got to just take a little more off, just whittle it down to fit to size. You're just basically making your own puzzle piece here. Sometimes it takes a little more time to make this piece fit because it's an odd shaped piece, L-shaped piece. So we're just going to make it fit. Add plenty of screws. Always add the screws. Start in your original framing. If you have original framing, go ahead and throw the screws in your original framing. That's the strongest point of the area. And then add some screws in your backing. I always like to add at least 2 or 3 screws and patches. Every 2 to 4 inches, always easy rule of thumb. Add plenty of screws, plenty of screws. You want this patch to be nice and tight. The tighter, the better. We don't want it to crack out after we mud it and texture it, and then it dries out. A day, week, month later, it cracks out because you didn't add that backing. That's what that backing's for. Once you get the screws in place, go ahead and scrape up the sides, clean it up, any ragged, rigid areas. You can cut them back, kind of V-notch the areas, scrape them with your 6-inch knife. That way you can fiberglass mesh tape. Always on your patchwork. Whenever we do patchwork, use mesh tape. I know a lot of people on YouTube use paper tapes, this and that. Just stick to the fiberglass tapes. I'm telling you, I've worked with fiberglasses for 25 years and I never had any mistakes. No callbacks. Just stick to the fiberglass. They work great. They're a strong product. Probably the best product in the market. There are a lot of fiberglass different tapes, fiberglass mesh tapes out there. Just stick to the regular fiberglass tape. They have yellow tape, purple tape, yellow tape, different colors. I just stick to the white tape. So it's the go-to item. The other ones are kind of gimmicky, but you know, you can use what you trust, and I trust using this fiberglass mesh tape. Now it's time to first coat. I'm just using a hot mud. I always use hot muds. This is a 5-minute mud for all my repair works because I'm a one-trip job. I got to get them done in one trip. But if you're not comfortable using hot muds like this, go ahead and use a joint compound. Joint compounds, you're going to have to let them dry overnight and then turn around and sand it to do your second coat. But whenever you use these quick set muds, 5-minute, 20-minute, 40-minute, 90-minute quick set mud, you just mix what you need in a pan. You only mix what you need. You don't want to waste this materials. You just put it on like a first coat. You're not putting it on super heavy, and it also doesn't have to be the perfect first coat. Basically, a first coat's just filling it in, getting the majority of the materials, the fill, the coat on it. We don't want a bunch of mud on it. We're not trying to put a big old hump on the wall. Once you get a nice first coat on, go ahead and scrape out your tools. Get all that extra mud out of your tools, and always wash up your tools. If you have a washout area with a hose, this is a preferred method, cleaning out with fresh water. If you don't have a hose handy, then clean out in a bucket with a sponge. While you're letting your first coat or your regular mud set up, you can go ahead and prep for your next step. Get all your stuff ready. On these jobs, I don't waste no time. I have to be as efficient as possible. So while I'm waiting for my muds to material, I get ready for my next step. I don't sit around. I don't talk on the phone. I just right to work, in and out. I want to get off these jobs and get on to my next job or get home to my own life and my own home projects. So we just wait for the mud to dry. I'm going to go ahead and get the hopper and texture stuff ready. I'm going to go ahead and even mix up the texture. It's a joint compound that I already have ready. I just dump off the water, mix it up. It's ready to go. So I'm ready to go for the next thing. I'm just doing all this extra work while the mud's setting up. All right, now your first coat's setting up. Go ahead and slick it out with your sponge and your 6-inch knife. This is a slick out technique. This is only done with hot muds, 5, 20, 40, 90-minute muds. And you have to do this before they set up. This is the 5-minute mud, so this is about 5 minutes into it. It's starting to set up, so I'm manipulating and taking off the extra mud. If you're using joint compounds, you have to let joint compounds dry overnight, then turn around and sand them instead of doing the slick out process. Once it's all slicked out, now we're always ready for our second coat. Second coat, I don't need much mud. The first coat's already on. The first coat did the majority of the fill-in. The second coat's just a tight skim coat over your first coat, going past your first coat. This is just to fill in any extra deep spots, get rid of some chatters, and everything like that. We're following through with these coats by slicking them out with a sponge and 6-inch knife. So doing that slick out process almost acts like another coat. So even though I'm doing 2 coats of mud, by slicking it out in between, you're almost getting 4 coats out of it because you're slicking it out and taking off the extra materials and slicking out the materials, and makes a nice smooth area. Go ahead and clean up your tools. Always clean up your coats. After your coats, clean up your tools. While that's drying, get ready, set up for your texture process. With this, it's a spray knockdown. Your project may have a different texture. If you had just a smooth texture, you can just skim out the area with a 3rd coat, regular joint compound. With this, it's a spray knockdown. So I'm just using joint compounds here. It's a heavier joint compound. I would say like a real heavy pancake batter consistency with joint compounds only. I do not ever use quickset muds for textures. I always use a joint compound or a texture type mud. With this, it's a knockdown, so I'm cleaning up my 6-inch knife. I got to knock it down with a 6-inch knife, so I always sand it with a sanding block. I keep a sponge and a sanding block in my water bucket at all times. Once your second coat sets up like this, it's been 5 more minutes, so I'm slicking it out just like I did with the first coat. Taking off the extra mud, just pushing the mud where it's needed, and all the extra mud I'm taking off. It's like a wet sanding technique. It almost looks perfect. If I painted this patch right now, it'd be perfect. But if, like I said, if you're going to do no spray textures, just do a tight skim coat with a 3rd coat, and then you'd have a perfect smooth patch. But we're going to do a spray knockdown. That's why I put the extra masking around here. And I'm just going to spray this whole area, this whole bottom area. I'm not just going to spray the patch. I'm going to spray all the way from angle to the cabinet, so it's one nice patched area. Not only does this give it a better finish, the homeowner appreciates this because they get more value for their money, and it looks good. Instead of just having a patch in the middle of the wall, now it just has one blended part above the wall, and that's it. Once you get your spray, you spray it nice in consistency, nice even layers. I usually go horizontal spray, vertical, and nice even pattern, the same pattern. Clean up everything. That's why I have this clean 6-inch knife, clean sponge. I use a straight part of my 6-inch knife. 6-inch knives always are the best for knockdown, especially on patchworks. I'm just lightly gliding over the texture. I'm not pushing down. There's no muscle, no energy. I'm just letting the knife glide over it. The knife is gliding over it, doing the knockdown. If you push down too hard or even push down at all, you're going to create flat spots. We don't want a flat knockdown. Clean up your area, get all your masking out of here. Just let this knockdown dry overnight. It takes about 24 hours to fully dry with joint compounds, and they can turn around and sand it, 150 grit, 200 grit sandpaper, primer, and paint. But this is an easy patch behind a refrigerator, very common. Most houses that have an ice machine, I guarantee you'll at least have to do this one time in your home ownership life. But I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe and like. I'm going to be making a lot of videos. I need more watch time. I got a lot of subscribers, but I'm trying to get the watch time. So go ahead and please watch these videos and like them if you got time. Hey, thanks for subscribing.